In this video, we'll be taking a look at 4 NBA games happening on January 7th, 2026, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 8 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 4 NBA games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start, if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Denver Nuggets versus Boston Celtics. The Nuggets have already ruled out Nikola Jokic, Jonas Valanciunas, and Cameron Johnson, with Christian Braun, Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, and Tim Hardaway Jr. all sitting on the injury report as questionable. The Celtics, on the other hand, are only missing Jason Tatum, which feels almost luxurious by comparison in a long regular season grind. Denver has cooled off a bit as the injuries stack up, which is not exactly shocking, but they are at least coming into this one on the back of a gutsy overtime win where the bench carried a lot of the load. Those kinds of wins are fun, they build confidence in the locker room, but they can also take a toll when the same short-handed group has to turn around and do it again on the road. Boston, in contrast, just keeps rolling along. They are in strong form, the core is relatively healthy, and they are riding a 4-game winning streak that feels more like a continuation of a long, steady surge than a random hot stretch. The Nuggets upsetting the 76ers was a big statement, and it does suggest this group is not just going to roll over because the injury report looks ugly. But here is the thing, more than half of their regular rotation is either already ruled out or tagged as questionable, and that kind of uncertainty makes it hard to trust their floor from night to night. The Celtics keep stacking wins, and they have covered the spread in 7 of their last 9, which hints that the market has not fully punished their number yet. On top of that, the winner in 9 of the last 10 meetings between these two teams has also covered, so when one side gets on top in this matchup, it usually translates straight into the spread result. The Nuggets absolutely deserve credit for that latest upset, but asking a depleted roster to summon that same level of effort again against a red-hot Boston team playing at home feels like pushing your luck. Honestly, with this injury report, I just cannot bring myself to back Denver to keep it close for 4 quarters. As our first pick for this matchup, the Boston Celtics to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The Celtics operate at the slowest pace in the league, sitting at 95.8 possessions per 48 minutes, so they are in no hurry to turn this into a track meet. Even so, their offense is razor sharp, and they lean heavily into the three-point shot. Boston ranks 3rd in three-point rate at .475 and 8th in three-point percentage at 36.8%, which means that even in a slower game, possessions can end in quick, high-value shots that swing the scoreboard in a hurry. On the Nuggets side, they sit 22nd in three-point rate at .396, but they actually lead the NBA in three-point percentage at 40.2%, so when they do let it fly, the shots tend to fall. Without Jokic, their pace drops to just 95.1 possessions per 48 minutes, which lines up with a more deliberate style and more half-court possessions. That sounds like it should lean under, but recent results tell a different story. Denver has allowed 124 or more points in 6 of its last 8 games, and that kind of defensive leakiness can blow past a total even when the tempo is measured. So even with the slower projected pace on both sides, I still lean toward a game where shot-making and defensive lapses combine to push the score higher than the number suggests. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Washington Wizards versus Philadelphia 76ers. The Wizards are still without Keyshawn George and Cam Whitmore, which trims their depth again. The 76ers are keeping tabs on Trendon Watford, Kelly Oubre Jr., and Joel Embiid, all listed as questionable, so their final rotation might not be clear until close to tip-off. Washington has actually been playing some spirited basketball lately. They picked up a big confidence boost by knocking off the Magic last night, and you can feel that kind of result in the body language, even if the legs are a little heavy on the second night of a back-to-back. Now they have to turn right around and deal with a 76ers team that, despite its own issues, is slowly tightening up and improving. Here is where the number gets interesting. You almost have to ask yourself, should this current version of the Denver Nuggets and the Washington Wizards really be treated as if they live in the same price range against Philadelphia? That is basically the implication when you remember that the 76ers were around a 14.5-point favorite on Monday after opening closer to 10.5. If that sounds like a strange comparison, the market seems to think so too, since the Sixers look a bit cheaper now against a Washington side that has quietly become more competitive. Washington is on a run of 5-2 in its last 7, which is the kind of stretch that usually slips under the radar when it comes from a team with a bad reputation. The easy pushback is that the Wizards have been owned in this series, with just one win in the last 10 meetings with Philadelphia. But this is not about picking the straight-up winner. This is about where the spread sits. The real question is whether the 76ers should be laying this many points to anyone right now. Given that they just lost outright in overtime to that same Denver side mentioned earlier, the honest answer leans strongly toward no. Big favorites in double digits need to control games from tip to buzzer to cover that sort of margin. Philly has not shown that kind of sustained dominance lately, and there is no real incentive for them to chase style points. They just need to get out of there with a win. The Wizards, on the other hand, simply need to be competent to avoid total meltdowns, and recent data says they are capable of that. For anyone eager to bail on Washington because of the logo on the jersey, it is worth remembering that when these teams met back in October, it also took overtime to separate them. Philadelphia escaped that night, but it did not exactly crush Washington. The 76ers will still be favored for obvious reasons. They are at home, they have the rest advantage, and yes, the Wizards are still the Wizards in the public mind. Philly is 9-1 straight up and 7-3 against the spread in the last 10 against Washington, which sounds scary until you note that the Wizards are quietly 6-4 straight up and 7-3 against the spread in their own last 10 games. That run includes that upset of the Magic last night, which again hints that the gap between reputation and current form is pretty wide. With the 76ers still juggling rotation questions and the Wizards catching a big spread, there is some real appeal in grabbing the pile of points and trusting that Washington can simply hang around. We might even see another strange night in Philadelphia, but the focus here is not on the upset fantasy, it is on Washington staying inside a number that feels too generous. As our first pick for this matchup, the Washington Wizards to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. The Wizards are averaging 113.2 points on 46.1% shooting, which is more than respectable on the offensive end. The problem, and also the reason totals bettors keep staring at their box scores, is that they are allowing 124.7 points on 47% shooting. That kind of defensive record usually means open lanes, late closeouts, and a lot of high-quality looks for the opponent. From deep, Washington is hitting 36.2% of its threes, which is solid enough that you cannot just sag off and live with it. They are at 75.5% at the free throw line, which is not elite, but it is serviceable and gives them a bit of extra scoring if they keep attacking. On the glass, they are grabbing 44.3 rebounds per game, which helps keep possessions alive and adds second chance scoring, always a quiet friend of the over. Philadelphia brings plenty of offense of its own, averaging 117 points on 45.2% shooting while giving up 118.1 points on 46.5%. So you have a favorite that can score in bunches, but also gives plenty back on the other end. The 76ers are also shooting 36.2% from 3, matching Washington from the arc, and a very strong 81.4% from the foul line. That last number matters a lot in a game with a big spread, because late free throws, especially from a good shooting team, can push a total higher even if the contest is already decided. Defensively, Philly is allowing 34.4% shooting from deep, which is better than Washington's 37% allowed, but both marks still leave room for streaks if shooters get comfortable. They are pulling down 44.8 rebounds per game, so both teams sit in a similar range on the boards, again pointing toward extra chances and quick runouts after misses. Put it all together and you have two teams that can both score, that both allow plenty on defense, and that have matching three-point percentages along with steady volume from the line. In a matchup like that, even if there are small lulls, the overall shape of the game leans toward a fairly high combined score, especially if things open up in the second half. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Toronto Raptors versus Charlotte Hornets. The Raptors are still without Jakob Poeltl for this contest, which leaves a pretty clear hole in the middle of their defense and screening game. The Hornets have ruled out Ryan Kalkbrenny and Grant Williams again, so their rotation is also trimmed, even if they are getting used to playing this way now. Toronto has quietly been putting together some solid basketball lately. They have gotten key pieces back from injury, the ball is moving better, and they are chasing a third straight win after absolutely hammering the Hawks twice in 3 nights. That kind of mini-run can calm a locker room and make everyone feel like the game plan finally makes sense. Charlotte, though, is not exactly limping into this matchup. The Hornets are coming off a confidence-boosting performance where they handled the league-leading Thunder without much drama, and that kind of scalp sticks in your mind. When you take down one of the top teams, especially on a big stage, it changes how you feel about yourself the very next game. On the surface, this looks like one of those spots where you just ride with the steadier side. Toronto has been playing well, going 4-1 straight up and against the spread over its last 5 outings, and the market has clearly taken note of that form. Charlotte, with a record of 13-23 and a reputation for inconsistency, is the sort of team many people write off automatically. In a near pick'em setup, the instinct is simple: back the group that has been winning more often. Here is where the number gets interesting, though. Despite the Raptors looking better to the eye, the price clearly suggests that the underdog is very live, and that actually lines up with what we have seen on the court. Charlotte has already beaten Toronto twice this season, including a 25-point win where the Hornets dictated the tempo late and executed cleaner in crunch time. They have shown they can raise their level against stronger opposition, with recent road wins in Chicago and Oklahoma City that hint at a higher ceiling than their overall record suggests. Before those 2 wins, they nearly shocked Milwaukee on the road and went toe-to-toe with Golden State. This is a group that feels like it has turned a corner a bit, almost like a New Year's resolution to play up to its talent instead of just mailing in another lottery season. The Raptors at a small number are definitely tempting. On paper, they are the better team, and this is exactly the sort of game a playoff-chasing group is supposed to handle. But the Hornets have covered 8 of their last 10 games, and they just beat the Thunder on the road as 15-point underdogs, which is no small thing. They also beat these Raptors a month ago on the road as 6-point underdogs. Is this a real turning point for Charlotte? And are these young players finally starting to figure out who they are? Maybe, maybe not, and this does have the feel of a possible letdown spot after such a big win, so there is a bit of risk baked in. Even so, the focus is not on the shiny records, it is on where the value lies in the actual number we are being asked to play. As our first pick for this matchup, the Charlotte Hornets to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. The Hornets are going to fire plenty from deep because that is how their perimeter talent is wired. There should also be cleaner driving lanes to the basket for both sides, with key rim protectors unavailable. Toronto will be without Poeltl, their usual starting center, and his absence makes it easier for Charlotte's guards and wings to get all the way to the cup instead of settling as often. On the other end, the Hornets are missing size of their own, with Kalkbrenner and Plumlee out of the mix in this analysis, which opens the paint for Toronto's main scorers to attack the rim. That kind of interior softness on both sides usually leads to higher percentage looks, quick fouls, and extra trips to the free throw line, all of which quietly help an over. Both teams are coming off a day of rest, so the healthy players should have fresh legs and enough energy to keep pushing the pace. You can expect some stretches where the game tilts into a track meet, especially if either side goes small and starts trading early offense threes. The Hornets, in particular, are built for overs in this write-up. They sit 10th in offensive efficiency and only 25th in defensive efficiency, which is the classic profile of a team that can score but has real trouble stringing together stops. When you combine that with the missing rim protection and the extra space on the floor, it is very reasonable to expect a high-scoring game here, with both teams doing more damage on offense than they would like to admit on defense. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Chicago Bulls versus Detroit Pistons. The Bulls are still missing Jalen Smith, Zach Collins, and Josh Giddey, with Kobe White sitting on the injury report as questionable. The Pistons are on their side of the ledger without Tobias Harris and Jalen Duren again. Even with Duren and Harris out, Detroit handled the Knicks 2 days ago. They leaned on that defense, forcing New York into 20 turnovers and setting the tone. The Pistons rank second in defensive turnover percentage at 14.9% and second in opposing two-point percentage at 51.3%. And that kind of stingy work inside and in the passing lanes is what shapes this matchup when Chicago comes to town. Chicago has had a rough time putting the ball in the basket in its last 2 games. Giddey's absence hits hard because he is treated here as a key creator for their offense, and without him their flow takes a hit. Their defense has struggled for most of the season anyway, so from a pure matchup point of view, it is easy to lean toward the Pistons first. The last time these teams met, Detroit beat Chicago by 11 points. That win came even though the Pistons were missing Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren, Tobias Harris, Ausar Thompson, and Jaden Ivey, while the Bulls were again without Giddey. So the recent head-to-head memory tilts toward Detroit as the side that can still get it done even when it is short-handed. Right now, the Pistons are framed as not only the better team, they also have home court and what this write-up calls a serious health advantage. Chicago's injury report is loaded with important names, and that is exactly why the spread has ballooned into a big number. On paper, it makes sense, but here is where things flip a bit. Detroit has failed to cover in 6 of its last 10 games and has not looked comfortable when laying bigger spreads. In this season's series, the underdog has covered the first 2 meetings between the Pistons and Bulls, and Chicago has pulled off several outright wins as an underdog across the year. So while the matchup edges lean toward Detroit, the betting value tilts toward the team catching the points rather than the one asked to win by a margin. As our first pick for this matchup, the Chicago Bulls to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. The Bulls play at the 3rd fastest pace in the league, tracking 102.3 possessions per 48 minutes. They like to push the ball in transition and speed up the game, which usually supports higher totals. The catch, again, is Giddey's injury, which is described here as a huge blow since he is a central part of their offensive structure and a primary playmaker. Without him, you can expect more empty trips, more broken sets, and possibly fewer efficient transition chances. The Pistons, on their side, sit at 100.4 possessions per 48 minutes, which puts them in the middle of the pack at 13th. They lean on their sturdy defense and do not rely heavily on three-pointers, ranking 27th in three-point rate. That usually means longer possessions, more half-court work, and fewer quick flurries from deep. Recent trends back up a lower scoring angle. 4 of Detroit's last 5 games have stayed under the total, and 6 of Chicago's previous 8 have also landed under. When you blend a strong defense, a modest pace from one side, and a key playmaker missing from the faster side, the shape of the game points more toward a grind than a track meet. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.